In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
You are listening live to the Vito and Vito Show. Disrespectful to the executive branch.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
Don't sign the damn deal, and the president will...
Therefore, I do not believe that the majority can vote a man's life or property or freedom away from him.
And we're live here on the Vito and Vito Show. I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito.
You're listening to the Vito and Vito Show live from the basement of the Empire State Building. Check out the website, www.vitoandvito.com, for network listings. Give us a follow on your Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook accounts at Vito and Vito Show. And allow me to let my co-host explain just what the hell you're listening to.
Bringing you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservative libertarians out of liberal hellhole Brooklyn, New York. We're committed to defending the principles of freedom, free markets, liberty, and individualism. Vito, we hold no punches here.
That's right, except the black eye that you gave me the other night. As you can see, we get a little something for everybody here on the program, being that we're college-age millennials.
Or just overgrown buffoons.
Well, that too. We're going to let ourselves have just a little bit of fun.
Which means sex jokes.
Just lots of sex jokes.
If you're looking for political correctness, you've come to the wrong show. We're going to say a few things off color, but, that's just who we are.
Forget about it.
We're not going to quote the Bible here, but we will quote Atlas Shrugged and Playboy.
That's right, Vito and Vito. Subscribe to Playboy magazine.
Head over to www.vitoandvito.com for more information on network listings, past episodes, and, of course, our articles.
The Vito and Vito Show in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.
What's on the agenda for tonight, Vito?
We have a very special guest.
Yes, we do.
The Dr. Gina from America Trends TV.
That's right, America Trends TV with Dr. Gina on U2 America, weeknights, 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
That's right.
And Politichicks. She's part of the Politichicks.
She's a Politichick.
She's a Politichick. She's a writer. She's the Politichick. She's the Politichick. And here's that voice in the room that you can hear 3 miles away and around the corner.
Another Politichick.
Politichick in training. Here she is, friend of the shows, contributor. What else does she do for us?
Boss you guys around, say you guys come and join me. It's a lot of stuff.
Emotional support.
That's right. Emotional support. She doesn't get us coffee, ladies and gentlemen.
The Animaniac.
She's a notch above that. Mona Salama. Mona, welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on, Vito?
What's up, Mona? Mona, you read my new article, right, on Scott Walker?
Yes.
All right, now you like Scott Walker, right?
Yes, my favorite candidate. Everybody.
You're a big fan of Scott Walker. I happen to have a little reservations with Scott. For example, with Scotty. with Scotty
boy.
Walker. Not Johnny Walker. Him I have no reservations about. I have reservations about Scotty Walker. Vito, read me that the quote from Mediaite we have there on the article that's posted up on VitoandVito.com.
Now, this is from one of his top advisors. Quote, you start in Iowa and lock up conservative votes, because if you don't do that, the rest doesn't matter. It's much easier to move from being conservative to being a middle-of-the-road moderate later on.
What do you think of that, Mona? His advisor telling him it's okay to move to the middle.
Well, then again, remember his past advisor that he had to fire because of what was the issue again? Do you always listen to your advisor? See, Scott Walker, what I like about him, he even said it himself, he does not listen to his advisors. He'll take it to a grain of salt, but Scott Walker is going to do what Scott Walker does.
Okay.
And if you can see what he did in Wisconsin, you know...
Well, he's done some good things in Wisconsin. I mean, he's taken on unions. That's a step in the right direction. But also, Scotty Walker. Here's my issue with Scott. Immigration, he's flip-flopped.
Okay.
The Patriot Act, he's for the Patriot Act. You know, he's been running some deficits up over there in Wisconsin. So the question is, what exactly
Where is he running a deficit?
I'm going off what Donald Trump said.
Okay.
that always works.
Okay. You have to see his new budget because he has $3 billion left on the, there's no deficit. He has a surplus of $3.3 billion. Sorry. Okay, I mixed up my numbers because thanks Donald Trump. I thought I was rich.
Yeah, come on, there we go. There we go. Mona, that's a decimal in your bank account. That's where the...
And that song is getting in my head. F up those commas.
I gotcha. What did you just say?
There's a song called F up those commas, and I think that's for Donald Trump.
Did you just curse on my radio
show? No,
I
did not curse on your radio show. I said F.
We're going back and going to replay the tape. But let's also replay the tape on Scott Walker. Mona, he supports immigration reform, something conservatives aren't happy about. Conservatives had the same issue with Jeb Bush. Conservatives had the same issue, for example, with the
But they also had the same thing with Rubio. Rubio flipped on his...
Exactly. He was a part of the gang of eight, and now he's flipping his stance.
But then again... What are we going to do with the 11 million illegal immigrants that are here? You can't deport them.
Well, that's not the... Easy now, girl. That's
not
the question that we're having right now. And
because they're here, and where are you going to find them?
Well, if we know there's 11 million, that means we counted. Then we know who they are, if you can count them.
We didn't count... Well, per se,
Did you take a guesstimate?
Yeah, of course.
Look, it's irrelevant. The point is, before we even get to the whole immigration debate, which we could have a whole conversation on the show, which I'd love to do, but we do have Dr. Gina calling in just a little bit. But the issue isn't so much about... immigration as much as Scott Walker's flip-flopping here. Scotty Walker's been flipping on this issue.
Okay.
I mean, like at private GOP dinners, he's telling these big shots how much he wants to support immigration reform, and then when he comes out in the stump, he's basically bashing the Gang of Eight bill, and he's talking about how he wants to have a strong, tough border. So, I mean, where is he on this issue?
Well, I don't know what's he on the issue, because back then, he wasn't announcing that he was running for president. It was always speculation.
So
and he was becoming the conservative, favorite of the time. And he didn't think he was going to stay in the polls, up and leaning on top of the polls right next to Bush for the past 8 months. And then look, we waited like 6 months before the Iowa caucus, and he's announced, and he's still on like the top 3. So... everybody has flip-flop from time to time.
Yeah, but just because now he's flip-flopping, just because he's running for president means it's okay to flip-flop? That's not fair. That's not fair at all.
Well,
that's what we're challenging, I think, this election cycle with guys like Cruz and Lee and Paul.
Yeah.
I think
that's Lee's not running.
I know, but that whole faction, that Tea Party faction, they're challenging the flip-flopping.
Okay,
they're challenging the narrative.
But Ted Cruz has flip-flopped many times before.
When?
The TPA, for example.
Well, that's an instance where he's listening to the grassroots. He's taking a position, and he switched his mind.
And the same thing Scott Walker has done with immigration.
Not necessarily,
yes,
no, because he's telling the GOP consultants that he wants immigration reform, and he's telling the conservatives on the stump he doesn't want. He doesn't.
Where's the proof that he's done that in the dinners?
Breitbart articles. Breitbart article is out there. Yes, it is.
I didn't look at that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And it's on the Vito and Vito Show website, by the way. Thank you, Mona Salama. VitoandVito.com. You can see that I have the link on the article that I wrote about Scott Walker. Is he the conservative icon that people are making him out to be? Look, I think he's a good governor. But is he set and ready to, the challenge, like the icon for the movement? I don't know. I don't think so. I have reservations
Even
about
Ann Coulter wants Scott Walker.
She also wants Donald Trump, and let's be honest.
No, she doesn't. She said Mitt Romney. She's never said Donald Trump. She's
always
said Walker or Mitt Romney. She's like, that's the only... She's always been on Hannity saying, I want Scott Walker. But she's always said Mitt Romney, but she's like, no, Walker is her pick. So... she's a big immigration person. Remember that.
I don't make my decisions based off of Ann Coulter.
No, I know, but I'm just saying she's the one who was against immigration, and she's going for Walker.
Well, since we're on the Scott Walker topic,
her prerogative.
Since we're on Scott Walker, I want to see what Mona says. According to the Washington Post today, Scott Walker wants to drug test food stamp recipients.
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. And this Washington Post is saying that's why he'll never be president.
Okay, but then our mayor, de Blasio, wants to give welfare people free internet.
Again, the communist mayor of New York.
Yes. I believe, if you look at the statistics of people who are on welfare, as opposed to people who really need welfare, the ones who are there thinking as this is like a trust fund, what do they do for their living? I live in the Bronx, and all these kids I see like nowadays hanging out on the street corners, all they do is smoke weed, get impregnated at a young age, and stay on welfare benefits. I give you props, Scott Walker. Yes, drug test all these losers, you want to say, the ones who do not deserve to be on welfare, that are capable Americans to work the Mexican jobs, if you could say that. I give you props to that.
Well, you have to qualify for welfare. That should be one of the requirements.
Exactly.
Not really. No.
Well, not you should.
Not
you
in
should
New York, and you should qualify, but in New York, it's very easy.
Well, New York,
it takes a while to get it, but it's easier to obtain.
It's a socialist crap hole over here in New York. You know,
no qualifications. I mean,
Donald
Trump's on welfare.
Yes, he's on government welfare in terms of corporate handouts, but whatever, it is what it is. Look, whatever you think about Trump, Walker, and the rest of them, you're gonna love what the Vito and Vito Show has to say, because the Vito and Vito Show, I'm bringing you the truth. That's a quick plug for myself. You know who else I want to plug? I want to plug this woman that's about to come on our program. She's fantastic. She's great. We love her to death. Dr. Gina is the co-author of the best-selling books, What Women Really Want, and, ladies and gentlemen, Why the Survival of Our Republic Depends on the Revival of Honor. What a title. She holds 2 master's degrees and a PhD in the field of psychology. Plus, she has a fantastic TV show, again, America Trends with Dr. Gina, which you can check out on YouTube America, weeknights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Vito and I were on it. Mona, you were on it in the past as well. She's fantastic. She's great. Ladies, Dr. Gina, to the program. Welcome to the Vito and Vito Show.
Hey, good to be with you.
It's good to be with you, Dr. Gina. Vito has a good question for you. Vito, take it away.
I do have a question. I was not prepared for this. Dr. Gina, let's jump right in. Did you hear what John McCain had to say about Donald Trump's supporters? He called them, he said, bring out the crazies?
Yeah. He's got a lot of nerve, that John McCain. I'm not sure why any of us really care what John McCain has to say, but apparently he thinks someone cares.
Well, listen, John McCain is a rhino-in-chief.
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely.
I mean,
he wants Lindsey Graham for president.
Exactly. He claims to support conservatives, and he doesn't support no conservative. Let's get one thing off the bat right now. But here he is. Don't laugh at my accent, Dr. Gene. I take that offensive right here. That's very racist of you. But if you see what now, he called conservatives, people who were pissed off about immigration in this country, he called them, they have awoken the wackos or something like that, or the sick people in our party. And he attacked them. He demagogued them. And you got to look at this, and you got to say to yourself, wow. Just wow. Again, Republicans attacking other Republicans. I thought these people are all about unity. Isn't it sort of contradiction of John McCain's position?
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what they'll say. If we start talking about, for example, Lindsey Graham's record, they'll say, oh, well, I thought Republicans shouldn't attack other Republicans. But it's perfectly fine for them to try to strong-arm someone like Donald Trump, who has just as much right to run for president as any other American does, just as much right to say, hey, I espouse the planks in the Republican platform and I want to run as a member of this party. They would love, I think the establishment, I honestly believe, and there will be conservatives out there who think this is a crazy conspiracy stuff, but I honestly believe that people like John McCain and Lindsey Graham would love nothing more than to ban people like Donald Trump from their ability to even run for president, because they don't want the conservatives to have a voice at all. They don't care what the guy on Main Street thinks. All they care about is getting their kickbacks from Wall Street.
Well, here's the question. A, is Donald Trump a conservative? And B, if he is, how do we push that message out to, to basically overshadow the rhinos in this party? Because they've been basically co-opting us and doing whatever they want us.
Yeah, I don't go around calling anybody necessarily conservative. I think it's up to the candidates to brand themselves. And I think that Donald Trump is doing a great job of saying, hey, these are the issues I'm concerned about. I'm not sure the labels are as important. I'd like to hear him address some other issues, some more of the so-called social issues, which I've always said there's no such thing as a social issue. But it doesn't take such a rocket scientist to say that, issues that that the left has tried to paint as social issues are just, again, lies and branding from the left that we need to absolutely reject. One of those is the whole issue of Planned Parenthood and abortion. And I'll speak directly to that as someone who leans very libertarian, not particularly on this issue. To me, life is a fundamental issue from a founding father's perspective. But even if you ignore that and you take religion away, which I think is a mistake, by the way, but even if you do all of that, you still look at someone like Donald Trump who's going on, we're funding Planned Parenthood to the tune of $1.5 million every day so they can chop up babies in a womb, damage women, and sell the body parts. And I'm thinking Donald Trump probably isn't going to like that. So if Donald Trump came along and cut that funding to Planned Parenthood, I'd be okay with that. That's a step in the right direction. I don't need him to scream and yell and thump his Bible and tell me that he's a dyed-in-the-wool conservative who thinks, there should be no abortion anymore, even if that's what I think. I just need him to say, hey, I don't think this is a social issue at all. I think this is fiscal, and I think the taxpayers need to stop funding it.
Right on, sister. You tell him, honey. You tell him.
That's a great segue because hashtag PP sells baby parts is trending. So I know you're talking about this. I mean, you hear about how sick this is? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Oh, it's positively disgusting. Not surprising to those of us who've been following the antics and just the disgusting behavior of the Planned Parenthood ilk for years and years. And we all know that, the people who have left that industry, and it is an industry, make no mistake, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Let's not forget that. And the people who have left that industry have done so, every one of them without exception. And they say they left because they couldn't maintain their sanity, because they realize at some point what they're doing. There becomes a point where you realize if you can harvest a heart and a liver and a lung, you might need to identify the organism from which it comes. And if it isn't a human, then why does it work so well for medical research for humans? It doesn't, the hypocrisy is just blatant. And this is what this whole selling of body parts has illuminated. And that's the beauty of the whole thing, if there is an upside of all of this.
Well, it's sick because they're selling body parts. Just think of that there for a second. They're selling body parts. That's gruesome and sick in and of itself. And, this baby is somehow, in some way, it has, in my opinion, a claim to life. Whether you want to argue abortion or not, I think when they're starting to sell body parts, there is a legitimate claim to that fetus's life. Now we're talking about, again, the philosophical component of where does life begin. If you're able to sell a heart from an aborted fetus, something's up right there. Something's wrong, and it's sick. The taxpayer-funded organization, Planned Parenthood. You and our tax dollars are going to fund this sick, barbaric practice. It really is crazy. It's absolutely insane. And Dr. Gina, I really appreciate you coming out and talking and speaking up on this issue, because it's something that's crazy that, we need more people to speak out on. But you're a woman, right?
Yeah, I know. These days you do have to clarify, don't you?
Yes, because
yes, absolutely.
In today's age, we're going to have to, clarify your sex, your gender, your sexual orientation, and all things like this. So, you wrote a book, What Women Really Want. And me and Vito have been debating this all week. We think the real meaning is What Women Really Want, Vito and Vito. I think you just messed up the title. But that's beside the point.
We could have saved so much time if you would have just told us that before we wrote the book.
Got to shift through all these pages. Tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, well, what we did is, we are so tired of this mantra, this old, dead, boring mantra from the left about what they believe it is that women really want. And if you listen to the left, you'd think the only thing that women really want is free birth control, about $10 a month to buy women's votes off, or access to abortion. But we realized that when we talk to women, Republican, Democrat, conservative, it didn't even really matter. But when we talked to women, that wasn't what women wanted at all. In fact, what women wanted was, first of all, not to be labeled and categorized as women, because most women who are intelligent think they're a lot more than their gender, frankly. But also that we realized that their concerns are very similar to the concerns of men, believe it or not. Economic security, national security, constitutional rights. Those are the things that women are concerned about. And so we wanted to speak to that. And it's fascinating because all three of us really had our awakening at 9/11. And so many women we talked to across the country said the same thing, that was their wake-up moment when they got out of their minivan and got into political activism. No matter what it took, they stopped using their kids as an excuse. They stopped using the fact that politics is dirty as an excuse, and they became activists. And so we wanted to tell our stories to hopefully encourage other women who might feel alone, and men, by the way, because this book is definitely intended for men as well. And just to say that, where there's a will, there's a way, and that together, if we all talk with one voice, and rise above things like class warfare, gender warfare, and so on, that we really can make a difference. And I think you've already seen it. If you look at Obama's last election, 2010 it would have been, correct? Yes, right? Yes, right. No, 2008. The percentages of women who voted for him, it decreased dramatically between the election to his second term and our midterm elections that just went past. And so the number of women who are turning from the Democrat Party and voting Republican is almost astonishing. And we put all those numbers in our book because we thought it was important for people to see that it's the planks in the Republican Party platform that keep women voting Republican. If the Republican Party gets squishy like Lindsey Graham and John McCain and takes those planks out of the platform, it's all over. And that's one of the things we wrote about. It's a chapter called Platforms and Stilettos in our book, What Women Really Want.
You got to see Vito put on a pair of stilettos. I've never seen someone wear them better. Dr. Gina, thanks so much for coming on the Vito and Vito show. Tell us where we can find you on social media and what to like.
Yeah, Dr. Gina's Show is my website. You can get my book there. That's drginashow.com. Of course, my show that I have Vito and Vito starring in when I can, when their schedule permits, is America Trends, and that's you2america.com. I'm on Twitter at Dr. Gina Loudon and Facebook as well.
Dr. Gina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much, Dr. Gina.
Absolutely. My pleasure. All the best to you guys.
So what is behind enemy lines anyway?
This is the true story of two friends living in the People's Republic of New York City who work together and have their conversations taped to find out what happens when conservatives stop being politically correct and start getting real. We are Behind Enemy Lines. Watch your wallets. Thursdays at 1 on WNJC, part of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save
your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
Vito Show. Check out the website, www.vitoandvito.com. Check out our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Vito and Vito Show. Vito. Mona, we got a problem. The Iranians are running over the United States. President Obama's got no spine. And we're getting kicked right in the stomach. We look terrible on the world stage.
It's not that bad.
This is the epitome of leading from behind, Vito. This is it. This is the epitome of President Obama's foreign policy strategy. You know the idea is if we don't have a plan yet to defeat ISIS?
Well, he's got a plan.
Yeah, what's the plan?
And do nothing.
Yeah, stick his tail between his legs. That's his plan. We got a president who's leading from behind. This is the epitome of a loser right here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's break down this Iranian deal, because we all know that Iran is on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon. Israel this close to getting annihilated off the face of the earth, and
right.
Radical Islam is spreading through the Middle East. Well, Vito, here's a little thing going on with the Iranian deal. Here's some of the main points. The Iranian nuclear infrastructure, most of it's still intact. Not a lot, if not any, of the nuclear infrastructure plants are going to be dismantled by the Iranians or by us. So basically, they get to keep whatever they've progressed with so far.
Good.
Great. I'm glad all that hard work is going to something good. So the Iranians still got that going. Gets worse. Iran is basically days or weeks away from building nuclear weapons. So they still have the capabilities. Listen, they're not that far away, ladies and gentlemen, from building nuclear weapons right here. They are pretty close. And President Obama, Secretary Kerry, Hillary Clinton, and the rest of them are too busy looking at Caitlyn Jenner's dress and commenting about the ESPYs and all that stuff that they are actually talking about this issue where Israel's life is at stake. A nation about freedom and liberty is at stake in Israel. And a sick Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran is basically taking over. They're the ones in the driver's seat right now. Here's another point. Over 5,000 nuclear centrifuges are still going to be spinning in Iran. So right there, you got 5,000 centrifuges spinning. Over 5,000, Iran gets to keep a lot of these power plants open, and they're this close to getting a nuclear weapon.
Does this make sense? Because I'm reading here that what Iran gets now from this is every type of United States, European, UN sanction lifted.
Right.
Which obviously helps their economy.
That was another big thing, too.
And the repeal of 6 UN Security Council resolutions declaring that the Iranian nuclear program is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Which means if it's repealed, that means it's legal. So it's legal to have Iranian nuclear programs.
Yep.
But we're going to... They promised. They pinky promised. Right. Not to increase the uranium and plutonium, which creates the
that's
bomb.
another thing, too, is that the Iranians basically get to vote on a board of members right here, a committee that's going to be established by the Iranians that basically allow us to go in after they basically approve and after we
so we can go in and check.
And we send a request to come check.
Oh, like with Iraq.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that works
exactly. And where did the weapons of mass destruction wind up, Vito?
In the hands of ISIS?
In the hands of ISIS. And where's ISIS right now? Rummaging through what? Syria and Iraq? Do they respect borders or anything like that? Absolutely not. Take it a step further. Where does Saddam Hussein, all the biggest theory out there, where these weapons of mass destruction went? Where they wind up going? Right next door into Syria. So right there, ladies and gentlemen, is your question. Just how great of a deal is this? This ain't no good deal. I don't see one good part of the damn deal. I don't see one good part of this deal. Matter of fact, what I see, and Vito, you brought it up before, is a spineless leadership. I see President Obama and the rest of the Democratic administration that claims to love this country run around and create deals that just basically are putting it on its deathbed.
Well, I have a question, Vito.
Yeah.
Now, Iran promised, they pinky promised not to actively seek out the nuclear weapons.
That's a political science term, by the way. They pinky promised. Go ahead.
Yes, this is what the nation is built on. So we give them our, we lift the sanctions so they're going to be getting billions of dollars, and they pinky promise not to build a bomb.
Right.
Now, what if they don't keep the pinky promise?
Well, then I don't know what we're going to
If
do.
they leave the United States on and say nothing's going to happen.
You mean, Iran's like a woman. They're going to lead a man on. And they're going to let him go. That's what's going to happen. We're so screwed.
Okay, what happens if they actually build the bomb? They have weapons of mass destruction, and we say, well, we have to come in and check now.
I don't know.
And they find Iran has nuclear weapons.
What do we do?
What do we say? You gotta get rid of them?
I don't know what we're gonna do. If we have President Obama around or any of his leadership team,
well, even in the future, then in 2017, 2018, now Iran has the bomb. Well, say, you gotta get rid of it. You promised not to. And,
that's the plan.
And what if Iran says no?
You have to stop Iran from getting a bomb. You just have to. Otherwise, you're gonna have to live in a society that permits Iranian nuclear weapons. And the question there is, just how safe is the world now with Iran with the nuclear bomb? This is the same organization, by the way, that funds Hezbollah, that funds Hamas, and other terrorist and radical Islamist organizations throughout the Middle East. This is the same organization that stones gays and beats women. This is a sick, barbaric regime in the Middle East.
That yells death to America.
That yells death to America.
A few months ago, remember Iran rebels stole $500 million of United States weaponry?
Yep.
Out of nowhere. We just lost it. That's ties to Iran.
This is the same country that said the destruction of Israel was non-negotiable in negotiations with this deal.
So we're just going to help them. Oh, and they have United States hostages.
Yes, they do. They also have U.S. hostages. And this is the same country and their government that yelled at John Kerry, our super star of a Secretary of State, yelled at him like a child. Told him to sit down in negotiations. This is right before his accident, exactly. Mr. Healthy. Do you believe this, Vito? We're getting slapped in the face. We went from a country that said you're either with us or against us to a country that says whatever you want, mommy.
Wait, what do we get out of this?
We get nothing. We get nothing, honestly. We are repealing sanctions on a regime that is anti-America as possible as you can get.
Just like with Cuba, and then the left goes, well, we're renegotiating, we're helping ties, we're becoming friends. No, they don't want to be friends. Mm-hmm. They don't, because when you boycott Indiana, because religious freedom, and they say, we'll work with Iran when they hang gays, pay for sex changes because they'll kill you as a gay, and stone the women. That makes sense.
Let's not forget also there's this big signing bonus, like it's an athlete that's joining the frickin' Yankees, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this signing bonus that the United States is going to give to the Iranians. $50 billion. I'm talking $50 billion, a signing bonus. Of frozen assets that would flow into Iran. And where do you think this money is going to flow to? You think it's going to flow to women's education? You think it's going to flow to Planned Parenthood of Iran? You think it's going to flow to the Transgender National Iranian Association? Let me tell you where this money is going to flow. It's going to flow right into Hezbollah. It's going to flow right into Hamas. And it's going to flow right into the destruction of the United States. That's what's going to happen. This is a bad deal. The question is this a good deal? No. The other question is, would you rather have this deal than no deal? Honestly, I'd much rather have no deal. Mm-hmm. I would much rather have no deal. And I'm waiting for the president to do what he's doing right now, which is basically jump over to the UN and try to get it passed by the UN Security Council and trying to get a UN resolution as opposed to coming to the United States Congress to pull it through here. He's going to fail. It's going to fail in the Congress. It's going to fail in the Senate. And like Ted Cruz said, he is going to block all of his nominations. Because he doesn't think that this deal is good for America. It just ain't good. It's a slap in the face. You know what's another slap in the face, Vito?
What is?
You heard about Major Garrett? CBS reporter?
Yeah. He said, you should know. What did he say exactly? He said you put him in his place.
I got the clip for you. Let's play the clip.
Direct relationship. Okay. Major Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you well know, there are 4 Americans in Iran, 3 held on trumped-up charges, according to your administration, and 1 whereabouts unknown. Can you tell the country, sir, why you are content with all the fanfare around this deal to leave the conscience of this nation and the strength of this nation unaccounted for in relation to these 4 Americans? And last week, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said under no circumstances should there be any relief for Iran in terms of ballistic missiles or conventional weapons. It is perceived that that was a last-minute capitulation in these negotiations. Many in the Pentagon feel you've left the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff hung out to dry. Could you comment?
I got to give you credit, Major, for how you craft those questions. The notion that I'm content as I celebrate with American citizens languishing in Iranian jails. Major, that's nonsense. And you should know better. I've met with the families of some of those folks. Nobody's content. And our diplomats and our teams are working diligently to try to get them out. Now, if the question is why we did not tie the negotiations to their release, think about the logic that creates. Suddenly Iran realizes, you know what, maybe we can get additional concessions out of the Americans by holding these individuals. Makes it much more difficult for us to walk away if Iran somehow thinks that a nuclear deal is dependent in some fashion on the nuclear deal. And by the way, if we had walked away from the nuclear deal, we'd still be pushing them just as hard to get these folks out. That's why those issues are not connected, but we are working every single day to try to get them out. and won't stop until they're out and rejoined with their families. With respect to...
Wow. He's content. You hear that, Vito? You hear that? The president was asked a question, are you content? Are you content with the Iranian hostages? Rotting in an Iranian cell, Mr. President? Are you content? Are you content? And what did the president say? I'm not content. He sounds like a bumbling fool up there, by the way. Are you content? He's not content. He's ecstatic. This president is so happy he got a deal done because just like Cuba, he's going to go down in history as the guy that made the deal. But here's a little part that he doesn't know. This is how dumb the president is. He doesn't know that in the future, the history books are going to scream and yell and big bold letters that this is the deal that kicked off World War III. Hitler's appeasement. Remember that?
Yep.
That started World War II.
History's going to tell.
The assassination of Archduke Ferdinand started World War I. Pearl Harbor brought us into World War II. Mm-hmm. This is going to start World War III. I'm telling you right now, we are in a lot of trouble. We are putting ourselves in a spot, in a position where we're arguing from weakness. Look, whatever you think of Donald Trump, you could think of him. But if there's one thing he says, Vito, he says always, it's arguing and debating from a position of strength. Mm-hmm. This is a position of utter weakness. And the President Obama, he's just a refusal.
He just wants to get a deal done so like he's actually doing something. Mm-hmm. But what this administration does not see is what if Iran does get the nuke? Mm-hmm. What happens? How do you tell them? How do you stop that from happening? How do you stop them from using it? You're going to go to Iran and say, well, you're not supposed to have that. What if Iran says, no, screw you?
Yep. You see the Iranians pushing back? They're basically not accepting anything. And when the American people and reporters like Major Garrett are getting up and asking the president, are you content with this deal? What about the Iranian terrorists right here being held, American prisoners being held in an Iranian jail cell? What do you think of them? Were they tied to these negotiations? Or is it just $50 billion that flows into Hamas? Who's in charge here? And the president gives out these slide remarks. He wants to make a little public notice. Don't you talk down to me. This narcissistic wannabe. I'm telling you, Vito, we have put ourselves in such a situation where we have to climb out of a hole that this president has dug for us. I'm waiting for a dumb liberal to come on my show and tell me that Bush screwed us up in the world. It was Bush who made us look bad. What about President Obama? What about this narcissist in chief? That's what I want to see. I want to see people flip out on him. I want to see them label him as the ruiner of the United States reputation.
Right, and when they asked George Bush about his legacy, what happened, he says he'll let history tell. Obama wrote how many autobiographies already?
He wrote like 2 or 3 before he was even president. The guy's ridiculous. Dreams of my father's, dreams of my grandmother's, dreams of my sister's ass. This guy writes books out like you have no idea. We're going to break. When we return, forget about the moments of the week. We're going to talk about the shooting over in Chattanooga and a little bit more here in the video.
So what is behind enemy lines anyway?
This is the true story of 2 friends living in the People's Republic of New York City who work together and have their conversations taped to find out what happens when conservatives stop being politically correct and start getting real. We are Behind Enemy Lines. Watch your wallets. Thursdays at 1 on WNJC, part of the Conservative Commandos radio network.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. Separated. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Message.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ReadyPA.org, brought to you by ReadyPA, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
And we're back here to the Vito and Vito Show. Check out the website, www.vitoandvito.com, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Vito and Vito Show. Vito, give us the time of the week again. It's that time of the week. Forget about it. Moments of the week.
Wow. Forget about
yes,
it?
Yes, this is the time of the week where we break down some of the craziest moments of politics. Vito, give us the first craziest moment.
2 cases in Philadelphia on a highway, 2 different cases of a woman decided to strip, and the police came and took her away, and she's being reevaluated.
For what?
For stripping.
For stripping.
In public.
People consider that a mental disease? Really? I don't know. Was it a transgender woman?
No, I don't think so.
That's why she's mentally ill.
That's why she's mentally ill.
Right.
I don't know.
Would you arrest her?
I don't know. Probably not. I leave it alone. Number 2.
Hashtag Prime Day. You hear about this Amazon Prime Day?
I did not.
Yes.
Explain.
Well, they put out some deals at Prime Day, this big thing like Black Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest selling products for Prime Day on Amazon was for $1,500, you can get a 55-gallon of lube. 55 gallons.
Are people that excited they have nothing better to do than just buy gallons of lubricant?
What are you trying to say?
Is that how we did this, Vito? Is this? Yep.
55 gallons for $1,500.
55
That's a
gallons.
deal.
That's a deal.
The gas was
Speaking
expensive.
of let's make a deal, this is the perfect deal. That's crazy. People are insane. People are absolutely insane. And it's crazy that Amazon sells this stuff, too.
Well, where else are you going to get it? Delivered. I want my 55 gallons.
Is that what you do?
Delivered.
You go to Amazon.com?
Yes.
You have an air
fast track that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you have Amazon Prime, it comes in a day.
Exactly, a day. 55 gallons of lube made and delivered in a day. You beat that. Vito, what would you do with 55 gallons of
Did you
lube?
just say beat that, Vito? Really? On this subject, are we really talking about this? Yep.
Where can you beat that?
Unbelievable.
These packages get lost in the mail all the time, but no, 55 gallons right to your doorstep.
Power of private enterprise. Unbelievable.
That's right, Mom. I do have a delivery.
Slips right out of your
roll
hand.
around the back.
It's like a slip and slide. That's how they should deliver this stuff. They should just.
That's why I got it. Why else
since there's so much, they should just like basically create from the warehouse to your house and just slide it on over to you. And I'm sure you still have like 35%.
I remember watching a documentary
85%
that
left.
Amazon they're creating like this machine that like a bird, like it flies to your house and like hand delivers your product they order, like with like a robot.
Like a stork.
Yeah. So imagine getting that delivered. You spill it on people.
People are crazy. Let's forget about a moment, Vito, of the week.
Donald Trump on the Morning Joe bet a year's salary with Lawrence O'Donnell.
His year's salary?
A year's salary.
So what does Lawrence O'Donnell make from working at MSNBC? What?
Minimum wage. And Donald Trump makes what? He's worth $10 billion. What's he making a year?
Well, Donald Trump makes a good amount of money.
Nah.
You don't think so? You don't think so?
He's
losing now because everybody's cutting his contract.
I don't know. I think he'll be all right. Donald Trump, even though he, like Mona said, is losing his contracts, I think he's still got a good amount of cash flow going.
He hasn't mentioned that yet?
What?
He's rich?
That he's loaded? I'm really rich.
He's betting year salaries. Okay, I can't even bet a dime.
He's a crazy man. I don't know. You can't even bet a dime? Is that what you just said?
Mm-hmm.
You can't even bet a dime. You were a poor little boy.
I'm just conservative. You're the one with the gambling problem.
I am.
Mona was just in Vegas. I don't know how she got back.
I don't know. She put the house up for sale and...
I was waiting for one of you guys to bet the show.
I'd do
Did
it.
you see my Snapchat when I won big in the Wheel of Fortune?
I would.
Yes, I did.
Explain to us how you won Wheel of Fortune. Hold on, give her a microphone. I want to hear this.
Machine.
Wait for it.
It was a slot machine.
Into the microphone, dear.
It was a slot machine.
All right.
Was waiting for a friend to pick me up.
Uh-huh.
And I just started pressing the buttons. Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I want to push the button. I want to push the button. And next thing you know, it went Wheel of Fortune, and it was like about $100.
You won $100 by hitting a bunch of buttons? Look at you. Look at you. The last time I hit a bunch of buttons, I spent the night in jail. Listen, Vito.
I don't know what you were pressing.
It was.
But you could have used that 55 gallons.
You mean they weren't buttons? Oh, I bet. My cellmate would have definitely. 55-gallon drum of lube would have been great, Vito. Listen, we got a shooting going on in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Explain to the people what's going on.
That's how you segue?
Well.
Can you give me a second? We're talking about gallons of lube.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's give it a second. All right, Chattanooga, there was a shooting today. Vito, is this domestic terrorism?
Is this domestic? Well, first of all, let's break it down. There were 4 Marines, ladies and gentlemen.
And 1 cop shot.
4 Marines and 1 cop shot. Is it domestic terrorism? Oh, absolutely.
Well, do you know what the name of the shooter was once they found him?
Let me take a guess.
Mohammed Youssef Abdulaziz.
That's, do you know? Okay. What else you got?
Well, he was from Kuwait. We don't know if he's a United States citizen or Kuwait citizen.
Okay. What made him go off? What was the motive? Do we know?
No, they're investigating.
They're still investigating. All right, so this guy named Mohammed Youssef, what's his last name?
Abdulaziz.
Okay.
I'm just going to assume that the last guy named Mohammed Abdullah something who shot up a place
Right.
was in the name of Allah,
All right.
which is radical Islam.
Islam. Is this domestic terrorism?
Well, the United States Attorney,
Mhm.
Bill Killian, said it is going to be domestic terrorism. That's
They
how they're going to report it. Yes.
They are going to report it as domestic.
Yes.
It's not workplace violence, you mean?
Well, that's what depends what Obama says, but
Has he called this out as radical terrorism? This
no, that's
superstar?
not in his dictionary. No, he'll upset his Muslim base. You know, Iran, who supports him.
Point.
You know,
Good point. But explain to me here for a second. Is President Obama, he hasn't called this out as radical domestic terrorism, hasn't called out radical Islam,
No.
hasn't said this is definitely an attack on our liberties.
I want to try to follow Obama's logic because you call it workplace violence, right?
Well, this is what the other one did.
Right, but you
The
know,
other
it's a
400,
lone gunman.
Yeah, there
Because Mr. Abdulaziz decided I'm going to shoot up a military base because that makes sense.
Well, what do you mean he shot up a military base and he's claiming it's a lone gunman? His name is Mohammed Youssef. Last name again?
Abdulaziz. I mean, he's named after the prophet, the prophet of Islam.
Okay.
So I don't know if he has any ties to Islam, but
Well, we're
he's
just
named
taking-
after the prophet.
Just taking a guess here.
I'm not racist.
No.
I'm just going to assume.
Taking logical steps, drawing logical conclusions based on what we saw.
Careful, don't use logic.
Okay.
Don't. It doesn't work. Okay? Like workplace violence, like gun-free zones in a military base. Gun-free zones in a military base.
Well, I think it was actually a Marine recruiter's office, but even if, I know you're not allowed to have guns.
Marine.
Yes. You're not allowed to have gun laws, guns on you at these areas.
Right, but Vito, Marine.
Yeah.
Marines.
Yeah.
When I think of Marines,
Uh-huh.
I think of guns.
Well.
Don't you think Marines would be armed? Like allowed to be armed?
You mean the armed forces weren't armed? Is that what you're telling
So
me?
they're just forces. I mean, that's not even debate the Second Amendment that I'm allowed to have a gun, because I'm not. Because this, you know, that's not talking about citizens, but the armed forces. The people who have guns all the time were trained professionally by the United States government to protect us. There's gun-free zones because they can't have guns. Because, like, you know, if you had a gun and you wanted to shoot somebody, like if you were a crazy person, a sicko, I would go shoot up people who don't have guns. Like, you're going to go, you know, shoot somebody who doesn't have a gun, regular citizen. But you're not going to decide to point a gun at a cop or a Marine because you know something bad's going to happen to you.
It's the epitome of leftist logic, if you can call it that.
It's a contradiction.
It is a contradiction.
Liberal logic
It's
is a
an
contradiction.
oxymoron. It's the epitome of liberal logic. It's, hey, we'll take guns away from people that should be carrying guns, and we'll expect the gunman not to do bad things. I mean, it's crazy. And the president calls, I want to go back to this again, he calls him a lone gunman. I just want to stress this point. Mohammed Youssef, last name which I can't pronounce. Abdulaziz shot up 4 Marines and a cop and is claiming, and the president says this is a lone gunman. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you see here? Is domestic terrorism. Peter, remember that guy that shot up a church?
Yes.
The black church, right? In Charleston? Right?
Dylan Roof.
Dylan Roof. And the left was screaming, this is an act of terrorism, the Confederate flag, racism is alive and well, blah, blah, blah. Let's keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that this guy who shot up these 4 Marines in Chattanooga, the president is calling him a lone gunman. You mean to tell me that he has no ties to radical Islam? If this guy really is a lone gunman, this is news to my... This is groundbreaking stuff.
Right, but you see Dylan Roof, right? A white kid with a picture of the Confederate flag.
Right.
You know, don't mention that he was burning American flag also, but he had the Confederate flags. Oh my God, white guy killed black people. Confederate flag, it's racist. Take it down now. They jumped to that conclusion.
And they right away called that domestic terrorism, by the way.
But Mohammed Youssef Abdulaziz shoots up with the shooting. Don't be racist now. He might not be Muslim and that might not be radical Islam. Because the last time a, quote, moderate Muslim shot somewhere, do you remember that?
No.
No, exactly. Okay? Because normal people don't do these things. So yeah, Dylan Roof, he had a problem. He did.
Wasn't he insane? Like he was clinically, there was a clinical
Yes, like
issue?
he was not allowed to own guns. Remember this? Like, but then he got it from the uncle legally.
Okay.
He was like clinically.
Right, he had a
messed up.
problem, right.
Yes. So we're going to assume that Mohammed Youssef Abdulaziz I just like saying that name now. Muhammad Youssef Abdulaziz Jr. I'm sorry. I'm going to say he has a problem because he's a radical Islamic.
Listen.
I'm saying it. I'm saying it, and you should assume that, not because he's racist, but it's logical. We're going to assume that there's 99% chance that this Muslim named after Muhammad did this in the name of Allah. Because why else would you shoot? Why else would you kill people?
Right.
Why?
Well, ISIS supposedly claimed responsibility for the attack. I know there's some stuff on Twitter that was going around. But, I mean, what you see here is, and I'm just waiting to see the response. People are calling him a lone gunman, and people are just saying, oh, he's bad. But no one is really calling out the root cause of the issue here. Again, I don't want to speculate and quickly jump. But I think it's a safe conclusion. I'm probably over 90% sure that this guy's a radical Islamist. Wouldn't be crazy. Wouldn't be bizarre. Vito, is it that time again of the week? Excuse me.
Another time?
The what?
You have a few times of the week.
We have a few. It's medication time. What's that, Vito? It's Twitter fan of the week. That's perfect. Twitter fan of the week. Vito, give out our Twitter fan of the week here on the Vito and Vito show.
Alex Arnold at I'm Primus 310. I'm going to take that out.
Congrats.
Alex Arnold. That's right. She tweeted at Wayne. She said, I listen to you, Wayne Dupree, but I'm addicted to Vito and Vito now.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Like a drug. Vito, how does it feel? How does it feel to get high on Vito and Vito? I always wanted to ask people that. Like Bill Cosby. Yeah. I wonder if Bill Cosby.
Really?
You think so? You think Bill Cosby ever used Vito and Vito back in the day?
That's a sick joke.
Listen, Mona, you don't know where I've been. What I've done. I claim to be a college conservative, but I'm actually a 75-year-old man.
Who's taken advantage of by Bill Cosby. Mr. Huxtable.
Oh, my. I don't know. What do you think? Did you like Bill Cosby? What do you think of this whole thing, by the way? This is our last segment here on the show. What do you think of this whole thing?
He admitted to it.
Yeah.
It's a few. Listen, he's frustrated.
Vito.
Is it Mr. Huxtable? What do you mean you don't want to come back to my room? What? Come on!
What do you think of America's Dad?
You grew up watching me.
Does this tarnish his legacy?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, come on.
Well, because I haven't seen a lot of people, like, for example, President Obama, they're supposed to, he has, a Medal of Freedom or something. He got an award a couple of years ago, and I haven't seen anything in the works to revoke that and take that away from him. I haven't seen the Hollywood Walk of Fame take his star off. I haven't seen him get Oscars and stuff. Whatever.
This is the first time women have been drugged for sex in Hollywood.
Yeah, but should the guy... What do you think, though? Should we go that far and take away all his stuff? I think so.
Really?
I think if he's a rapist, absolutely. Take his stuff away. He's not deserving of these honors.
Well, I mean, what he does on camera is different than off camera.
Really?
Okay, well, what about Michael Jackson?
What about Michael Jackson?
Should he be stripped of everything because apparently he touched little boys?
Apparently he touched... If this is proven that he did this, absolutely. And Michael Jackson, by the way, was acquitted twice. Actually, the charges were dropped, so he didn't rape anybody. I know I'm coming out right now, and I'm probably going to get into a fight with a bunch of people, but I'm on Team Michael. And I was in bed with... I'm joking. No, I wasn't, but... My parents loved me so much, they let me stay at Michael Jackson's for breakfast and lunch. And
Never Neverland?
And Never Neverland. I never went home again. Listen, Vito.
Wow. Wow. I mean, Louis C.K. got a lot of heat for making a pedophile joke.
Really?
And here you are just off the list, just one after another.
Come on. Because we're
Jell-O.
conservatives. We don't care about political correctness here on the show. Louis C.K., I mean, look at him. He looks like a Brooklyn hipster. He looks like a hippie, like a modern-day hippie.
He looks like a bum.
He looks like a bum. Well, again,
modern-day,
there you go.
I mean, listen. Bill Cosby ordered the Prime Day 55-gallon lube.
Oh.
For $1,500. He can afford the $1,500. I can't afford that. I'm going to go with 1 gallon at a time.
That's $1,500 for a 55-gallon tub.
A tub of gallons.
What are you going to do with all of
you need
that?
A spoon? You need a shovel. What can you do with all that? That's a lifetime of lube. Actually, more than a lifetime. Vito, how much lube do you use? Hey, break this down for 55 gallons.
Come on, Vito. Are we really doing this? Are we doing this?
I'm just trying to understand. Do you know what 55 gallons looks like?
No, I don't. I don't know what. I don't know.
Don't Google it.
I think that's like a big, like a steel drum.
It's a little more than that.
Right? No, don't. I think it's probably like waist high. Yeah, like it's a lot. Like you could go swimming in there. Look, the point is, Amazon Prime selling a lot a lot of stuff. Listen, the Vito and Vito Show, just about to wrap up our show here. This about wraps up our disaster known as the Vito and Vito Show. Check out the website, www.vitoandvito.com, for network listings, past episodes, and our newest articles. The Vito and Vito Show. Vito.
In Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.